All right. Last day of Utah TAC.
Yes, sir.
Hanging out with Whitney Tramel. It rhymes with camel, she said, so I'm going to remember it now. And Whitney is someone who I shot with in San Diego, got to know.
Yep.
Did the motorcycle shoot with. She's kind of a bad egg because you wouldn't think it, but she's drawn back 60 pounds.
Yes.
And she could shoot. So, Whitney, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you? I'm glad that we ran into you here. And we've been talking about doing a podcast for a while now, so I'm glad we're sitting here doing it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. I know we have a mutual friend, James Visser with Bow Disciples.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we should admit that on air that he's our friend, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been shooting with him all weekend. And most people know me, I think, through the Bow Disciples channel. Okay. I have people who come up to me in bow shops. Or I was at Colorado TAC last weekend. The number of people that came up to me, where's the rest of the group? And I'm like, it's just me. I'm here by myself.
Where's your crew?
Yeah, where's the crew?
It is funny how contagious James is. He really is contagious, and he just has a way of just like getting people like entertaining. Right?
Yes,
and he does have like he's like the center of attention wherever he goes. He's just a super good dude. And I got to know him a little bit before like the last year, but like the last year would be actually I would consider him a friend.
Nice,
right?
Yeah.
So we're doing things together. He's actually working with Tricer now. I'm helping him with some stuff he's doing with business. And I just really enjoy him. And there's just not a lot of people like him in San Diego for me to relate to.
For sure. I met him at Park City TAC like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
And that was kind of kept in contact ever since then. He started dating Bree, and then I was living in San Antonio for a little bit. And 2 years in a row, they came out and visited me. We shot San Antonio TAC, and I go around shooting with them, and it's so much fun. I definitely think I started shooting probably the first TAC I met him at was the first TAC I ever shot at. I had a bow for like 3 months at that point.
Oh, wow.
So to go from like Texas to Park City TAC and shoot these long range targets was quite the experience. But yeah, I just kept in contact. I think James is great. And I think that's what people rave about him on the channel too, is like he just seems so genuine.
Yes.
And you meet him in person, he'll talk to anybody. And I'm the same. I'll talk to anybody, like whether I know you or not. If you come up to me and tap me on the shoulder, I'm gonna carry on a full conversation with you.
Yeah. A little competitive. He's very good at shooting.
Yeah,
so it's a little intimidating to be shooting with him. Like I tend to not keep score.
Okay,
if I'm shooting with James, he's keeping my score.
That's correct.
And letting me know where I stand.
Yes, every time. It's fun. I shoot with, I agree 100%. I have friends who I shoot with who like kill shots only, right? Like we want to at least be in the insert, they'll say, some people will say, or like have it somewhere around the heart. And funny enough for me, I shot my bow for like 1.5 years before I ever went on a hunt. And you get used to shooting these targets where like the 12 ring is, but then that is not, I found out very quickly where you would be shooting an actual live animal. Yeah. Had a couple of times where I'm slinging an arrow at a buck and he ducks my string and I'm like, my arrow was going like right where I thought it should go. And that's not where you should be sending it.
Yeah, that's really, so you've been shooting a bow for 3 years now?
Going on 4 years now.
Going on 4 years now. And you're shooting at animals now.
Yes.
That's
Which
awesome.
is, so rewind a little bit. I got into hunting kind of on my own, but I was very familiar with living off of the meat that you harvested, right? So my dad and my grandpa were both hunters. They were rifle hunters, but they both passed when I was really young. But after they passed for like 3-4 years to follow, we still had a deep freezer full of venison meat. So I was familiar with that. Venison meat was always my favorite. As I got older, I knew it was something that I really wanted to get into. It really wasn't until COVID hit where I realized like there might come a time where I can't get my own food. So I've got to figure out a way like to harvest my own animals to get meat. Eventually I want to grow all my own produce, like all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of lifestyle that I want to live. And so I'm like, I got to figure this out on my own. At the time, like I didn't really have anyone to help me with that. And the hunting community has been amazing. Like I've not, there's bad eggs in every basket, right? But I've met so many incredible people who were willing, James included, who are willing to help and give advice or mentor or whatever. And I'm not afraid to ask for help either. I don't know what I don't know. So that's been incredible. I love the people that I've met through archery. I love the people that I've met through hunting. And I've just made so many cool friendships from that too, which has been amazing. Yeah,
it's good to hear that you're one of the like COVID people. Yeah. You're not alone. There's a lot of COVID people who got into hunting. We're actually losing a lot of them because they got in and then realized that hunting's really hard.
Correct.
But it really just seemed like you really embraced it and took it on, and you haven't done it with like, this sounds stereotypical, like having a husband who hunts who took you out. Like you're out there like figuring it out on your own. Very similar to Courtney Preet. I think I told you about Courtney.
Yep, you mentioned, yeah.
She wanted to figure out how to camp, and she started camping on her own. And then she wanted to learn how to hunt, and she used to hunt with her dad. So she picked up a bow, learned how to talk about someone to bow hunt. You guys would get along so well.
Yeah, I'd love to meet her.
So well. You need to talk to Courtney, and that's super admirable. And like now you're hooked, right?
Absolutely.
Like there's people like when you shoot a bow, like if you don't love it, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, for sure. I'd agree. Yeah, and it's been, I enjoyed doing hard things, challenging things, whether that's just from my upbringing or just how my brain is wired, I don't know. But I'm definitely, obviously, you meet people who like to do like the 15-mile backpack in and they don't ever kill anything, but they like doing the long hikes. Like, I'd like to fill my tags too.
Yeah.
But I enjoy a challenge, and like you said, it's not easy. Like the phrase goes like, if it was called killing, we call it killing, but we call it hunting for a reason. And I started hunting in Texas, so just whitetail hunting from a ground blind. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's not that much of a challenge.
Great way to start.
But it is, I think, the best way to start, because I can make a little bit of movement in the blind and not worry too much about the deer seeing that. Some people may argue this, but maybe scent isn't as important if you're sitting in a blind.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, so
I agree it's not as important in the blind.
Yeah, so just to have a deer that comes up 20 yards in front of you, that they can't see you, maybe they can't smell you, and your heart is racing. And like, I think as a newbie, you want to kind of just like panic. I don't know, that's how I felt. So I think that was the best possible way to experience having an animal in front of me, and I would tell everyone to start out that way.
Yeah.
Because I've now done the spot and stalk mule deer hunts. I've done the elk hunting. I've done bear hunting. Like, I've gotten the opportunity to do so much now, and it's not easy at all. And you're not guaranteed to fill your tag when you're doing that. Stalking in on a deer is very hard. You got to play the wind. Scent becomes important there. You're suddenly not in a blind. You're not covered anymore. And I've blown a handful of stalks. And my first like spot and stalk deer hunt that I did, actually went with James and their family. And so yeah, I think that's a great way to start. But like I said, I enjoy a challenge. Obviously, the goal would be to fill all the tags, but that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been so much fun, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what it is. Like, I am the biggest proponent of wind. People know that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I never really blind hunt, and this year I blind hunted in Sonora, and I don't know if it was because we were in Mexico and they're not really hunted as hard, but the wind did not play a factor nowhere near as much as it would here. Like, there were times where I'm like, why are you not running away? I don't know if we were in the big black blind or what, but they weren't running, and I'm like, my wind is hitting this deer. So I don't know what it is. Maybe there's dumb deer down there. I don't know. But that's my only experience hunting in a blind was last year doing that. But wind was not as big of a factor in the blind. I don't know what causes that or what. We also use some of those ozonators things, which I think are kind of a gimmick. We use those. We use the scent spray, which I think is a gimmick. We use that too.
For sure.
Even though I think it's a gimmick, I still use it. But it didn't. Yeah, it's a weird thing. So I don't know. Yeah, and I do agree where you say like you have a good mentality about like you're not going to fill all your tags, right?
Correct.
Like I think I have like 9 tags to fill this year between me and my boys, and there's this illusion in hunting. Like in my mind, I'm going to fill every tag.
Yes.
In my mind, I will fill every one of those tags. I'm going to commit to it, and I'm going to fill a lot of tags this year.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you don't, and you have to be content with that.
Yeah, and I think like last year was my first season hunting out west, and I knew going into it, like I've never done this before. Maybe I fill a tag, maybe I do. If I fill a tag, it's probably on pure luck. Yes, I put effort into scouting and all of that stuff, but I kind of knew. I mean, the statistic I think is like 8 to 10%, if that, of bow hunters actually fill their tag. But I think what people see, and we could even get into like the anti-hunting part of this if you wanted to, but people see the big names who are killing, well, I'm going to use the word killing because that's the word they use every single year, but it's because A, they have the money to go to these big properties and these big outfitters, or B, they've been doing it all their lives, so they know where to go to harvest an animal every single year. But then you have the people, like for people who are just now coming out west who are hunting for the first time, you have the people who live out east and only come out west every 5 to 10 years whenever they're able to get a tag. And it's not easy. If you're not able to spend every single weekend out there scouting and looking, the possibility that you fill a tag is honestly really low, and I don't think people really recognize that.
Yeah, there's some truth to it, and there's also just some people are better at hunting.
Correct, yep.
Like, I could drop Ryan Lampers, like, in the middle of the ocean and he'd kill a buck.
Right.
Like, there's certain guys who, like Brian Barney, who's gonna kill a deer
no matter where he's at.
No matter where he's at. Like, swimming down a river on a surfboard, he's gonna kill a deer somehow. Like, right? Crazy analogy, it's stupid.
Yeah.
But whatever.
No,
like, there's certain guys who are just better at hunting.
Yeah.
Right? They're just better hunters, right? I don't consider myself a great hunter. I consider myself a killer, like I kill things. But there's certain guys who are just really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they get good at it is by having the reps and doing it, right? And committing the time to it.
For
and
sure.
so, like, for me, you're living in Colorado, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna archery hunt elk this year?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It'll be over the counter. I drew a Colorado bear tag and an over the counter elk unit, so I'm gonna try to kill 2 birds. I did the same thing last year and I was unsuccessful, but I'm gonna try to kill 2 birds with one stone. So.
Nice. I actually did a really good podcast with Corey Jacobs. You should listen to it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's called Elk Hunting for Dummies. No offense.
Okay. No. That's no offense taken.
It's a super good podcast. It'll like blow your mind.
Nice. Okay.
But I'm gonna commit 2 weeks to Montreal hunt, right? Like, you commit the time to it and the dedication, and like, if you plan on like driving out here and rushing out here from the back east, and you're gonna give yourself, 2 days to drive, 4 or 5 days to hunt, 2 days to go home, like, it's gonna be a lot harder to do it. But like with archery elk, it's open in Colorado from the 1st to the 22nd. I'm gonna probably leave on the 30th or 28th. Commit 2 days of scouting, and then 14 days of hunting.
Yeah.
Right? And if I get done on day 1, awesome. My wife would be stoked.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll come home and do it. But you have to be able to commit the time to it. But you also have to be content with not getting something.
Sweet.
But yeah, you just need to be able to commit the time to the hunt and get out there and do it.
Yeah.
And the reps are really going to help you as a new hunter figure it out. The more time you spend hunting, the more comfortable you get. I think as a new hunter, it can be kind of intimidating. It can be a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
And you overthink it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And you rush things, right? And you patience is a virtue. And that's things you only learn over time, right? And every time you go out, you're gonna make mistakes. You learn from those mistakes. You put it into your pocket of like, these are the mistakes I made on this hunt. I'm going to remember that next time. You'll probably make the same mistake again because, if I blow another coos deer stock because I get impatient, I swear I'm going to throw my rifle off a mountain. But I guarantee you, I'm going to blow some more coos deer stocks this year.
Yeah.
But it's what I do. I'm hunting with Kate and Connor. So
nice. Yeah. That'll be fun.
It'll be fun. So you've got that tag. You're going to go do elk. You haven't gotten elk yet, right?
No. So last season, I had drawn a Colorado bear tag as well, and a different unit, but also an over the counter elk unit. And so I don't know if you're gonna go hunt in Colorado over the counter. Okay.
I'm not gonna say the unit on here.
Okay. Cool. Smart. I wouldn't either. I don't know if you know this, but Colorado, and this just goes into getting the reps in, I think is huge for a new hunter, but also like figuring out your resources. Colorado has a resource called now that I'm going to say it, it's going to escape my mind. Colorado Hunt Planners. So if you call like Colorado Parks and Wildlife, they'll connect you and ask about a certain game, certain unit, whatever. They'll connect you with the Colorado Hunt Planners, and you tell them like where exactly you're hunting, like what unit is it, or if you have it even narrowed down to like an area in that unit that they're looking at. It was my first time hunting bear ever, so I didn't know what a bear eat, where do I look for bears. I didn't know any of those things. So they'll connect you with the wildlife biologist of that area. They'll give you a phone call, and I spent like 2 hours on the phone one day with one of the biologists in the area that I was hunting. I was getting information on bear, like just what do they feed on, what am I looking for, what kind of areas are they going to be in. They would tell me areas that like they regularly see bears in. And then also I had a buddy who didn't draw his elk tag, and he was like, hey, like I'll come along with you. So we're doing a little bit of scouting for elk as well. So I was like, since I'm out there, it's an over-the-counter elk unit, like what are some good areas for elk out there? And like that was the vast majority of my scouting. Like, yes, I got out there a little bit beforehand, but the Colorado Hunt Planners told me not everything I needed to know, right? But as a rookie who had never hunted elk before in that unit, oh my gosh, that was such a big, like I was in them from day one. We were seeing sign from day one. So I think finding the resources for people, because people are usually willing to help unless if they're just shitty people, which are, like you said, bad eggs in every basket. But that wasn't even someone that I knew. That was a resource that the state of Colorado has, and I imagine other states have something similar. But I had done the scouting for that. My buddy ended up putting a bull down opening weekend when we were out there. And so it was cool to even just experience that, like skin, quarter the elk, pack it out. And obviously I'll be more stoked when I get to do my own. But just to even, like you said, getting the reps in. I had September last year, first time hunting elk. I spent 18 days total in the woods through, whether it was opening weekend, I had about 6 days. In the middle of the month, I had about 11 days I was out there, and then I spent the last 4 days of that month solo hunting, like not too far from where I live. So it's kind of in different areas, but I was in sign every single time that I was out there. You said you made a couple mistakes, and it's mistakes that I'll probably continue to make too. There were 3 different times last season that I kind of knew elk were going to be in there, hunting through thick timber, so it's not like I see it and I'm stalking in on it, but you kind of just know they're in there and you're going to walk up on one. And 3 different times where I had spots that I was trying to get to specifically, and I was like just in a hurry to get to those spots, and I bumped a bull just trying to get to that spot. And I'm like, you have to just have the mindset of like, I'm hunting from the second I leave camp or the second I leave my car. Like once my boots are on the ground, I'm hunting. I gotta move slow, like I could bump anything at any given moment. But yeah, 3 different opportunities. And once you bump a bull, like getting back on them that day is really tough, or at least for me anyways. I learned that the hard way. So yeah, there's always mistakes you're gonna make, and I imagine I will do the same thing again, just trying to hurry up and get to a spot.
So something I would recommend to you and anyone, including myself, anyone who hunts, is to like go to like one of Corey Jacobson's online classes, or Cody Rich is a very good friend of mine. He runs like elk 101, 102, 103, like a whole elk course, online course. Like, sweet, yeah. And I'm butchering, I think both of them. I'm calling both elk 101, but they both have elk courses. Mark Livesey, Ryan Lampers, they all do elk classes. I just took their Western Hunting Summit, and we sponsored it, so I went there and did that for 5 days. Oh my gosh, when it comes to like learning about archery, learning about calling elk, learning about stalking, you're getting the best of the best, and they're teaching you. Yeah. So that's well worth it. And then they also do like bear courses. Oh, cool. I mean, if you follow Gritty at all, but those guys kill all kinds of bears, and they do courses. And you're talking like $400 or $500 to do a course. Okay, so I mean, people are like, that's expensive. Well,
it's so worth it.
But if you're gonna cut, like, those guys are in the field at least 100 days a year. And you can get that knowledge, and they can give it all to you in 2 days. I highly recommend, and I've taken this course, is Mark Livesey's Tree Line Pursuits, his e-scouting course. Okay, yep. Phenomenal. Yeah. And it's like almost too much information for me to understand. Like Mark is the most thorough dude ever, but he's an expert at e-scouting. Okay. So you understand where bears are, and using all those tools, using Go Hunt, using Onyx, using Google Maps, using all those things to make a plan to go do it. And it's those things like, how often do you shoot your bow?
Oh shoot, I try to do it at least 20 reps a day, but if not that, like no less than 3 times a week.
Okay. But then how often are you like studying elk and studying, you know what I mean? See, that's
not the same.
So it's the same thing. No, so putting the time into learning, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, but also like taking these courses, like when you commit to, a lot of people say like, oh, it's expensive. But when you commit to, like we just did one, we sponsored up in Boise. It was an elk class up in Idaho, and you had to so we'd say you had to fly in there, take this course for 2 days, pay the $500. You're gonna pay attention because it's a commitment to that, right? Correct. Yes. And you're gonna learn a lot there. And plus, in those courses, you got 20 people on their tops. You're getting to go one-on-one with these guys and really learn. Yeah, and I think too, even, and I'm guilty of it, and I'm sure multiple people are. Like, you can watch all the YouTube videos, you can listen to all the podcasts, but oftentimes I'm doing other things while I'm watching the YouTube videos. Yeah. It's on the TV in the background. I'm listening to a podcast while I'm working out, while I'm driving, whatever. So I'm listening, but I'm not hearing and taking in everything that's being said. So I think there's so much value in being there. And I'm a huge questions person. I've always been that kid who like sits in the front of class and asks all the questions. Like that's always been who I am. So to be able to ask those questions is like invaluable. Like there's nothing that matches that. And I can see, I don't know, I think some people think paying for any sort of education isn't worth it.
But I'd be willing to bet the kind of people who sit in those classes, who pay for those classes, end up being, and success looks different for everyone, right? So like maybe they don't end up harvesting an animal that year, but they saw a buck for the first time while they were out hunting mule deer. So that's successful. And then the next year they're like, okay, now I know where to look for them. I know where they are. And now I got to figure out the stalking part of it and getting in on them. And I think there's so much to learn from that. But also, yeah, just getting out there. And I always tell people, I'm like, if you have a hunt you're going on and you want someone to go with you, ask me, I want to go. Even if I don't have a tag in my pocket, even if I'm not shooting anything, because there's no better way to learn than just being out there. And you're definitely not going to kill anything sitting on the couch, that's for sure.
You're definitely not going to sit on the couch. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is just to go take those classes. Even the online stuff, like Mark Liversade's stuff, it's so thorough. Cody Rich, wealth of knowledge. Cody Jacobson, wealth of knowledge. And you're going to get all that knowledge there. Like, honestly, stop buying. I have multiple gripes. One,
let's hear them all.
Stop buying the next flagship bow every year. The bow you have works.
Mm-hmm.
The best killers in the world are probably shooting bows that are 12 years old.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Stop buying rifles for $5,000-$6,000 and pay for classes and buy tags. Like I have a friend, he's a mutual friend of all ours. You've met him, and I tell him all the time he's going to hunt me twice this year. I'm like, dude, let's go hunt. Buy tags, not bows. Buy tags, not bows. And he listens to this podcast. So what's up, Joey? And I'm getting him on it. Like he's going to go hunt me in Colorado this year. He's going to go hunt with me in January because like. You can have the coolest stuff, but if you don't get out there, it doesn't matter, right? Sure. Like, dude, like that's why you see like, whatever, I'll make fun of people. That's why you see like a side by side full of dudes who are. We're gonna bridge us into what you do. You see a side by side full of dudes with like $6,000 rifles, all decked out in $2,000 for the Kuiu. They got the most bitchin' backpack in the back of their side by side. They got all the gear. And they're not killing anything because they're fat and out of shape. And that's where we're going with this right now. You see that? And it's bridged that thing. Because I wanted Whitney on because Whitney is a
strength and conditioning coach.
Strength and conditioning coach. And I'm very strong and conditioned, so I was like, oh, we should have her on.
Correct.
No. So let's talk about that. So because you just said like if someone has a tag, I'm going to go. So it sounds like you have a job that kind of it gives you the freedom to do kind of stuff.
Yep. So I've been a strength and conditioning coach for the last, oh my goodness, time flies, 7-8 years. I've worked mostly with military, a little bit with fire departments as well. And then as I started getting into the outdoors, really realized like how training for a hunt is very similar to how I would train someone who's going for a deployment, who's going to be in a combat firefight, all those things. A guy who is going into a burning building, like they're all very physically demanding things. And I kind of just coined the phrases like hard work, training to do hard things, training to do hard work. And I would train them all very similarly. And so that was kind of like a click that I had in my mind, which is where, you kind of mentioned there's people who go out there, they're like the fat guys who are just like riding the side of the road and all that stuff. But as far as my job goes now, I work remotely, so I do have the freedom to kind of just go wherever I want. I still work with military, just more on the education side of things. We build like educational curriculum for all the branches of the military around health and human performance and training.
Is this your company?
Yes. Oh no, not my company. I contract for the DoD. But anyway, still like we build a lot of educational content around training, around the mental side of things, around nutrition, and so it's still a large part of my job. But there's, I think I mentioned earlier, like doing hard things, but I think the mental resiliency you build, and whether it's just going to the gym and doing a hard workout, whether it's going and climbing a 14er and doing a hard hike, whether it's doing a hunt that you're living off of your back for X number of days, I just feel like you come out a better person at the end of that. And so that's why I'm a big advocate of doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, I work now, like I've started the podcast, and a lot of that is just education around hunting and the outdoors, but also education around training and the fitness side of things, and then how can we kind of tie those two together so that you can train or hunt for the rest of your life, right? Because like you said, you see guys who are in their 30s even who are like severely overweight, and yeah, they might be great hunters now, but they're going to get to a point where they're just road hunting, and then maybe road hunting gets banned or the laws get more strict around that and they're unable to do those things. but also looking at it from like what's the word I'm looking for? Just a longevity standpoint, right? Like you have kids. I'm sure you want to be able to hunt with your kids for a really long time. And
I want to be able to outpack my kids
for sure. Yeah, exactly.
Actually, take it back. I like them carrying my stuff for me now,
right,
but
okay.
I don't want to ever be catching up to them.
Right.
And eventually, time is gonna catch up to me.
For sure.
But I like to be in shape. Like I'm in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
I ride a bike all the time. Like I try and stay as fit as possible. So I think one of the most important things you could do for hunting is be in shape. Because if you can't get there, it doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
You got to be in shape. So, and I agree. So you touched on 3 things. You talked about. You said, I think fitness, mental health, and then you talked about nutrition.
Yes.
So I want to talk about all 3 of those things.
Yeah, let's dive into it.
You want to do that in that order? Or
Yeah,
what?
let's do it, yeah.
Okay, so let's do...
Fitness, mental health, nutrition.
There we go, let's do it.
So, yeah, just the training part of it, I think... I've worked a lot with military and a little bit like with special operations, so I'm familiar with working with guys who just like going balls to the wall all the time. And oftentimes in those populations, it's like getting them to dial back, right? Like maybe you like doing the 2-a-days, maybe you like running the ultra marathons, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with those things. But from a longevity standpoint, if we want to hunt forever, if we want to train forever, there's a phrase called minimal effective dose in training. So what is the minimum amount that we can do to maintain a high level of fitness? Not maintain an average level of fitness, right? I'm not just saying to do a minimal amount to be average. But we have what's called training age. So what that is say you have a 35-year-old man. Two 35-year-old men. One has only been working out for 2 years and one's been working out for 20 years. Your training age is how long you've been training for. So we have a 2-year training age and a 20-year training age. The longer that you train for, the harder it is to lose those qualities you've already developed, if that makes sense. So if you had, for 20 years, if you've been strength training, you've been running, doing some sort of endurance, maybe some sort of aerobic power development, all those kinds of things, if you take a step back and really dial down, you're not going to lose those qualities that you've been training for 20 years. That's just not how the body works. Versus somebody who's, maybe you've only been working out for a year or 2. I would recommend kind of hitting everything that you just, I'll call it like microdosing as far as your training goes. So get a little bit of strength in your workouts, get a little bit of endurance in your workouts, get a little bit of power development, so that we can build those qualities over time. Because like I said, they get harder to lose the longer you're developing them. Then you just have the people who've never worked out a day in their life. Honestly, if that's the case, like say you live out east, you're a flatlander, you want to come out west for an elk hunt. It's your first elk hunt out west, and everyone's always like, how do I train? Like, I don't have mountains to go hike in. Like, what do I do? Same thing. You got to be strong.
Single leg movements.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
Single leg.
I'm so glad
Bulgarian
you said
split
that.
squats.
Yes. Well, it's
lunges.
still, what gets me, like, I see just the Instagram fitness trends make me so mad. But you see people who are like, oh, get on the Bosu ball and like train balance on a Bosu ball. Sounds like you do a lot of single leg movements. If you were doing like a rear foot elevated split squat with heavy weight, that takes a lot of balance, right? Like, and that's the most realistic thing that you can do.
I do everything with a sandbag almost. If
Nice,
it requires weights, I use a sandbag now. So
Yeah.
like if I'm doing step ups, I'll use sandbag. If
Nice.
I'm doing lunges, if we're gonna run a hill, I grab a sandbag.
Nice, yeah.
Like a 60 or 70 pound sandbag. 'Cause
Nice.
It's like the most equal thing to a backpack.
Yes,
I don't remember
I
my
would-
backpack.
yeah,
So
I
I
would agree.
sandbag everything. I'll even sandbag, like sometimes I'll sandbag Bulgarians.
Nice.
Just because it just requires that muscle stabilizers, right?
Yes, yeah. I think that's awesome.
I'll talk. So I'll give you my thing. We'll talk about what I do.
Yeah, go for it.
So I
What you're
find,
doing, Rob.
because there's times where I want to work out 6 days a week, and I go. I work
Yeah.
out a lot.
Yeah.
I try and go to the gym 4 days a week minimum. And I think 4 days kind of like, I feel like when I do 4, I'm just as big and strong as I am when I do 6, because I get too tired. So I just have a problem where I'm addictive. I love riding a bike, so I'll ride a bike
Okay,
a
nice.
few days a week. I'll also go ride the bike at the gym, for the
Okay.
gym, and then I'll go ride 10 or 15 miles after the gym, and then go home. Again, I'm addicted to, like, I love working
Yeah,
out.
absolutely nothing wrong with that.
But one thing I love doing, which actually I shouldn't say I love it, I hate it, it's a heavy pack training. Right? And that's the thing that I feel like is probably one of the most important things I do. And like, I think once a week, twice a week, I'll do like a 6-mile ruck with 50 or 60 pounds on my back.
Nice, yeah.
And that's really what kind of gets me ready for hunting season, more than like, I can squat all the weight in the world, but once you put a pack on, there's just certain stabilizers that you really have to work out. That's why I do the single leg stuff. But until you get the pack on, you start moving on rocks and doing that stuff, and like using your boots and having your feet move around. That's really what you have to do to develop that.
Yeah.
So, and I do like it's like a functional fitness type gym, not a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
It's kind of more like a powerlifting gym / functional fitness. We always do like a core movement and then a bunch of like ancillary movements.
Cool.
We'll do. I always try and do supersets with my stuff. I like supersets, so I always add those in. So I always do like. I won't superset my compound. I'll superset like if we're doing Bulgarians. I'll go do some like hill elevated goblet squats, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of circuit it like that. So I feel like I'm in shape. I feel like I do really well. Am I doing it right or am I doing it wrong?
No, I think that's great. And you touch on a good point. Like there are people, including me, who do like to train 6-7 days a week. Maybe travel doesn't allow for that. Maybe time with the family doesn't allow for that. I think 4 days a week, like if I am traveling a lot, if I could hit a minimum of 4 days a week, that's great. Having a major movement, doing the ancillary movements, doing some endurance outside of like you're hitting all the things that you need to hit. I think where a lot of people really miss the mark, rucking. I think like that's rucking, but throwing your pack on, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely correct, and that like that's the best way to train for that. And we have what we call in strength and conditioning. A lot of coaches who work with sport athletes really they like sport specific training. The best way to get good at playing soccer is to go play soccer. The best way to get good at playing baseball is to go play baseball. The best way to get good at packing out an elk is to throw a pack on and go pack something out. But coaches want to create these movements that simulate the movements that you're doing in your sport or that you're doing in the backcountry, and that's not real. That's not real. Like you'll never find the same movement that you're doing. It's unrealistic. So I think that's great that you go and you put a pack on and you get out there. I think the people, and whether it's an excuse or not, like I said, the flatlanders who are out east who are coming out this way, you can still throw a pack on, and you might not be on uneven terrain on a trail, and you might not be traversing rocks or side hilling or anything like that, but you can still go around your neighborhood with a pack on because, like you said, you're still loading your spine in a way that you can't load your spine in the weight room, right? And with that, like if you've never thrown a pack on before, I don't recommend throwing 60 pounds on right away. I actually had someone ask me the other day, he's like, "What? Like I've been rucking with like 70, 80 pounds and my hip flexors hurt all the time." And I'm like, well, first, when your hip flexors are really tight, that means that your glutes are really weak. So that's something that you should address in your training. But also, did you just throw 70 pounds on and then not work your way up? And he was like, yeah, kind of. And I'm like, start with 20 pounds. I know maybe as a man, 20 pounds is light, and that seems like maybe a wussy weight. I don't care. 20 pounds. Go out there, get a couple miles in a couple times a week, how much time you have time for that. Once that feels good, throw 30 pounds in there. Once that feels good, throw 40 pounds in there. But if you just start with 70, 80 pounds, yeah, your hip flexors are probably going to hurt. They're probably going to be tight after that. Your back's not going to feel great. And the likelihood that you go do that again after feeling that way is slim to none, right? So there is some progression that needs to happen. And I think that's what ends up being a big problem too, is like I said, people just want to throw in a bunch of weight and then they hurt and then they never do it again.
Yeah, I definitely think like for me, like my pack's never going to be less than like 45. So I'd like to do like the 45 to 60 pound range, and that's it. Like I don't really go up to like 80, 90 pounds because I know that if I put my reps in at that weight, I can get an elk out of it.
Yes, correct.
Like you don't have to do that crazy weight because it hurts, it sucks, your body isn't meant to do it. So like you could train. I mean, people will like DM me and like say I'm an idiot, but like I don't train with 90 pounds on my back.
You should.
I train with like 45 to 60 pounds on my back. That's almost like trying to PR every week. You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't reach my PR until I get there. Right? You can work up to it. But I think the best thing I talk about hip flexors. The best thing I do in the gym is full range of motion movements.
Yes.
And I don't do so like my squats to depth. Like so I'll go lighter weight, go to full depth. Like my shoulders, same thing, full depth. That's been huge for me, right? Like doing like the like when I do a Bulgarian, knee touches the ground. When I do a lunge, knee touches the ground.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's where it's been good for like my hip flexors, my knees, my IT bands, all that stuff. Because I've been we have 5 kids, so it was hard for me to get in the gym, but I've been consistent in the gym since 2019. So 5 years straight now, I'm consistent in the gym. Most weeks I'm there, I'm doing 6 days worth of exercising somehow.
Nice,
4 or 5 days in the gym. But the best thing I did was my mobility, focusing on mobility over my strength. Because like
Yes.
you do want to go in there in PR week and get like big old chest and ripped abs, but the full depth stuff is really what gets you there.
Yeah.
More than the half squats and the half benches, all that stuff.
Yeah, and the more you can move, like, I think mobility is becoming more and more popular, but the better you can move unloaded, the better you can move loaded, if that makes sense. And yeah, just with the pack thing, like you said, you're not going to go throw 90 pounds, and I think that's stupid. Same thing with training a marathon. Like, I'm not going to go run a marathon every day training for a marathon. So why, if I happen to harvest an elk and maybe I have up to 100 pounds in there, why would I throw 100 pounds in a pack every day? Because it's unrealistic. It's unlikely. And so, like, I don't know if you've seen, there's a Western Hunt Fest, and they do 4 different competitions in it. It's a 3D shoot, a pack out challenge, an elk calling contest, and a sprint challenge. The women's pack out challenge is about 150 pounds. The men's is about 230. And for all of the events, the women were splitting it like 70 and 70. So training up to that, I only threw 40 pounds in my pack, because if I were to put 70 in there, it's just a short mile at the most. Ended up, the event that I ended up competing in, there was this chick who, oh my god, I remember walking up to her when she was at the registration booth, and she's like freaking jacked, and I'm like, I want to shoot with you, I want to do the pack out with you, like, you're my competition. She threw all 150 pounds in her pack, and I was like, okay, I'm doing it too, but this is gonna hurt. So I did it. I threw all 150 pounds in my pack, but I did not feel great the next day. But like I said, leading up to that, I had only intended to do like 70, 75 at a time. So the most I had put in my pack was 40. Because why would I do 70 pounds every single day? That was ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of, this is kind of off the top of what we're doing now, we're talking about putting weight in, taking an elk out in like 4 trips or 3 trips, right? You know what I mean? Like 3 trips, you know, not doing it in
one single
2 trips.
Yeah.
Definitely not one single trip. Like I'm a fan of doing one hindquarter, going out, and then doing the fronts, back straps, you know, all the do stuff in that bag and bringing it out. So if we have 2 people, do it in 2 trips.
Nice.
Training Superman, doing it in 1 trip is how you get hurt. It's how you tear something. It's how you fall down. It's just, especially when you're tired of cleaning out. Like there's guys who want to be macho and do it. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm the guy who will hunt you under the table, but I'm going to do it methodically, and I know I'm going to get there, and I'm going to hike up that hill. I'm going to maybe help with every hill I get to. But I'm over, like when I was younger, I just wanted to like be the fastest up the hill, and I was competing, and it's like now I'm just like, no man, let's get up there. And honestly, I take more breaks than I used to take. I'm getting older. I'm 38 years old now. So I might stop for a minute. Let's stop for a minute, take a break, drop it back, then get back on and do it. Because I find like when you're trying, it's hunting is a marathon, not a sprint.
Correct.
And I am not Cameron Haynes. And I don't want to be Cameron Haynes.
Yeah.
Right? So like, there's this mentality you got to be like just ripping up every hill and busting these ridges. But really what you need to do is be able to do it and do it healthily and get back home, right? And so be smart with how you do things. You don't have to be heavyweight, because that's how you end up being super, like let's say, like I was on a hunt, we had to pack an elk out, it was 16 miles round trip. And dude, that ruined our hunt. Like I was smoked afterwards. So you go and try and do too much, and that was one of the things we just had to do it because it was that far away. You back 150 pounds on your back for 4 miles, you're gonna have a hard time hunting the next day.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So you just gotta be smart with it and try and pace yourself. We'll do a lot of piggybackings. We'll hike stuff out, drop it, hang and retreat, go back, get more, drop it, and do that. So you're getting some weight off your hips for a little bit, and doing it over again. Because there's nothing fun about it. I mean, the best part about carrying an animal is getting in the truck and tailgate.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I want to do mental health last.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
So mental health last. So that's one that I think is really important to hunting.
Yeah.
And like the mental side of it, I think it's probably one of the most important things I've put on hunt before.
Yeah.
So let's talk about nutrition first. Yes.
Yeah.
And then let me tell you like. I guess I'll talk about what I do. I'll talk about what I'm doing.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm not the healthiest dude for nutrition.
Okay.
I'm very like protein driven.
Okay.
Right? Like I do like probably 3 or 4 ribeyes a week. The breakfast I do like 4 eggs, bacon every morning. I do love like ice cream and brownies.
You and me both.
I do love that, so I still do that stuff. I don't like a lot of carbs, but as somebody who's really skinny, like I bulk up, right? So I'll go like after hunting season, I'll probably go to 160. Before hunting season, I'll get to like 180 because I just put on all this muscle. I just go in the gym every week, and I'll just like start losing it, right? Like even right now, like I brought kettlebells. I've been doing some kettlebell training at the house in the mornings, but like I'm not working out like I normally do at all, and it's just gonna have the rest of the season. But So am I doing it right? I do a lot of fruits. I like fruits, so it kind of makes me feel better.
Yeah.
I don't do a ton of salads. I do veggies.
Okay.
I try and keep as clean as I can, but I'm not like this like strict keto dude.
Yeah, and I don't think, like, I know keto is the craze, and like the carnivore diet is the craze, and that's what everyone wants to do. And there's even a little bit of research on like how those could be beneficial for people who have certain conditions, but it's still in very temporary states, right? There have been people, like, I'm forgetting the name of the author, and I'm not going to say names anyways, but wrote a book on the carnivore diet and how it's the best thing for your health and it's the best thing for you, and he's coming back now 3-4 years later saying, like, yeah, I've not been well. Like, I can't do this for very long. This is not sustainable for my body. It's not sustainable for my health. And that was the #1 book that started people doing the carnivore diet. I think that's what got Rogan doing it. Like, so to see that person who authored that book, who was like real big, I think maybe he was a dietitian, I don't remember. But for him to put that out and come back on it and be like, oof, baby, this isn't what we should be doing. Because carbs are very, I know people want to have like low carb diets, low fat diets. Like, there's so many. I always like to say, like, eating lifestyle. The diet, the word diet, I feel like just has such a negative connotation around it. I tell people, and people hate when I say this, like, eat what you like, right? If you like to eat a carnivore style and you feel good, by all means, do it. Just know that it's not sustainable. I do think around hunting, like you mentioned, you kind of gain a little bit of weight maybe, or you just end up losing weight. That is very important, because when you're out there, especially for 2 weeks, like you might be out there for, you're going to lose weight. No matter how many snacks you bring with you, no matter how many rehydrated meals you have with you, if you're someone who takes your Blackstone with you and you cook breakfast and dinner every morning, like, if you're putting the miles on your feet, you're going to lose weight no matter how much food that you're eating. So you do always want to put a little bit of weight on before you get out there, especially if you're going to be out there for longer than a week. I had someone come to me one time and they had said that they had heard it from someone, or it was just their own thing that they did, that they liked to try to starve themselves before they went out on a long hunt, because then their body was conditioned for being starved, like in a starved state. And I'm like, that is fucking stupid. What? Who told you that? Like, why does that make sense? I guess logically it can make sense, but when you think about it from the standpoint of, like, when we're starved or in a fasted state, our body is in a very stressed state.
Yeah.
And then we're putting miles, maybe we're packing things out, we're packing camping, all of these things. Like, that's putting our body in a stressed state, which we talked about earlier. As far as longevity goes, like, that's going to kill you faster in your hunt. That's going to kill you faster in your lifetime, right? If you go out and you put your body in a high stress state every single time you go out on a hunt, every single year, that's going to break your body down a lot faster than if you're taking care of it, if you're eating the right way. So I'm not going to give any specific, like, here's what you should be doing, but I will say, like, carbs are important, especially when you're putting a lot of miles on your feet. Protein is even more so important. So you said you eat a really protein heavy diet, and I think honestly I would maybe even say protein's more important than carbs. Just because that's what's going to keep your muscles healthy. It's what's going to keep your muscles strong. And protein has a high satiety rate, so it takes longer to digest. It's going to keep you fuller for longer periods of time. But I would say, yeah, just before hunting season and even like during your hunt, like protein and carbs are going to be the main thing that you want to focus on, just to keep you fueled throughout that. Throughout the rest of the year, eat what you like to eat. You mentioned you like ice cream and brownies. I love ice cream. I love cookies. I love dessert. Sweets are my weakness. I always have candy at home. It's so bad. But if you like it, eat it, right? Like, I'm not going to tell anyone to eat something, because what ends up happening when you cut something completely out of your diet that you really like, when you finally get a chance to eat it, you're going to binge eat it. Like, I've tried to cut out sweets, and then anytime I'm around them, I'm like, can't get enough of them. I'm eating as much as I possibly can. So I would never tell anybody to cut anything specific out of their diet, unless if they have some sort of allergy to it or some sort of intolerance, then obviously that's a little bit different. The question always comes in, like, what supplements should I be taking? I'm not big on supplements personally. I kind of believe, like, I take a food first approach. So I would look at someone, and I'm not a dietitian by any means, but I would, like, look at someone's diet and say, like, first, what nutrients are we missing? Like, as far as, are we getting macronutrients? Are we getting proteins, fats, and carbs that we need? Then we go into micronutrients. We're going to look at the vitamins and the minerals that you're getting out of the foods that you eat. And if you're missing a lot of important micronutrients like magnesium, iron, calcium, all those kinds of things, then maybe we supplement those vitamins and minerals that you're missing. And then that I would only ever recommend that. I'm not big on like pre-workout stuff. I'm not big on anything else outside of that. Really, that's for like a temporary boost in performance for going to the gym, and I don't feel like I personally need that. But if you like the pre-workout before your workout just to get you going, then by all means do it. Yep. But there is no supplement that is going to make you any more successful when you're hunting or any more successful in your training. And there is no supplement that is going to supplement your lack of sleep, that is going to supplement your lack of training, and that is going to supplement your lack of nutrition. That is not what supplements do.
Sleep is huge.
Yes.
Sleep is gigantic.
Yes.
The only supplement I take collagen.
Oh, collagen is good, yeah.
I love collagen. I feel like my knees, my T-pad doesn't hurt me anymore. Taking collagen.
I take collagen as well.
I like collagen. And then I do, like, more so because I just like the taste of it. Like, I'll drink some BCAAs after the gym or after I ride a bike because I just feel like my body wants it. I could say, like, when it comes to nutrition, since I am a healthy person, like, in the gym, doing that stuff, your body kind of desires healthy things. It's kind of weird, like, if you're not in the gym, you're going to eat fat things. Yeah. If you're in the gym, and you're working out, you're hiking, your body's going to want healthy things. It just becomes a lifestyle.
Your body knows.
Part of it. Like, your body knows what it wants. Like, I can tell you because I ride the bike a lot, which I've been sucking on from traveling so much. I'm eating like crazy, right? Like, if say I go to the gym and I put in a 15-mile bike ride, I'm just freaking sucking down food. Like, there's not enough calories I can eat because my body, I am like already like, have a huge metabolism. Like, I just freaking burn through things like crazy. That's why I'm saying, like, I'll drop down to like probably 160, 155 by the end of the season, probably drop 20 pounds. Because my body just burns it, right? So I just know what I want. But yeah, it's a lifestyle. So like when you work out, you end up eating healthier. You end up not wanting all that junk. I do a lot of like lettuce wrap type stuff. For some reason, I just don't like a lot of like starchy carbs.
Me neither.
I don't know. I don't know. It's good.
I honestly, I prefer, especially when I'm out hunting. Like, I would rather get carbs from like Sour Patch Kids, like a super fast, sugary digesting carb. Oh, same. I can't have them in my pack right now.
And peach rings.
Yes, the watermelon Sour Patch Kids, my absolute favorite.
Yeah, I love Sour Patch Kids. Do you ever put Sour Patch Kids in popcorn?
No, is it good?
It's phenomenal.
Oh my goodness.
It's phenomenal.
It actually does sound great.
Like butter popcorn, throw a handful of Sour Patch Kids in there. Oh my gosh. Okay. Like the salt and the, dude.
That's my next experiment. I have
to
try.
do it. It will, like, we go to the movie theater, so we start doing it. Now my kids eat popcorn like every day.
Right.
It's like
a great snack, yeah.
They eat popcorn. And they always, well, we don't always have Sour Patch Kids. We don't have Sour Patch Kids in our house all the time. But like when we're like movie night, we'll buy Sour Patch Kids stuff.
I would rather, even when I travel on trips like this, like I'll get a high protein meal, maybe that doesn't have a lot of carbs in it, and I'll come back to the room and eat a bunch of Sour Patch Kids. It's just what my body likes. I don't digest bread very well. Like you said, starchy carbs, I don't digest very well. So I know what my body likes. I know what it responds to. Now it's not to say I don't eat those things, but I just limit them. I don't eat them often.
I feel like they drain me a little bit more. Like I do a lot of bread, so I just feel like I can't get going as fast. Where if I eat, like, I love doing a ribeye with 2 eggs on it for dinner. Yeah, nice. I'll do like 3 or 4 nights a week, and I'll just cook a ribeye, throw 2 eggs on top of it, and smash that thing. Yeah. I love that. Or some avocado on there, like that kind of stuff. So just like that's the stuff that I just feel like I get energy from. Yeah. More than like trying to get supplements and stuff.
What do we think about too? Me and Bree were actually talking about this the other day, like the American diet. I know people, and I've traveled out of the country as well, but not for like longer than a week at a time. Who have gone and spent months in another country, and they're like, I feel like I'm eating way more than I've ever ate, and I'm losing weight. I'm like, yeah, because these other countries don't have all these extra additives that we have in our food, and that's what ends up hurting our digestive system. It's not, yes, some people are severely overeating, but mostly like the people who aren't overeating and who are really under-eating, they're not eating enough but still gaining weight, is because of all the extra stuff that we put in our food, and our body just doesn't respond well to that, which is a whole different topic. But yeah. I think when you eat, and the reason I got into hunting as well is like I want a more like primal based lifestyle, a more primal based diet. When you eat more whole foods that come from the ground, foods that come from animals, your body responds really well to that. I think that's the best thing that you can do.
Okay, so we got fitness, we got nutrition. Now I think one of the most important parts of hunting is the mental side of it. Yeah. Because like I said, I've had hunts where I've wounded an animal and gone home. driven either one in my mind right now, or I drove home from Arizona. It just ate me. I couldn't get back into it. I was like, I'm just going home. I miss my kids when I'm home. Not only that, like I also deal with a lot of stuff with like I'm on the road a lot. I hunt a lot. I start missing my family. That gets really hard to deal with that. To struggle. I'm trying to like they're here with me right now. I might even bring them like on my elk. I might bring a house and stay like within range of us. I want to like try to bring as much as I can with me. Let's talk about the mental side of things, mental health, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I think I'll talk about me personally, but I know like multiple people have told me similar things. Really, hunting included, but just getting outdoors, right? There's no better thing, and whether it's the vitamin D from the sun or whatever, there's no better thing than just getting outside it, and truly the effect that has on your mental health. I struggled with anxiety for a little bit of depression, and I had a lot of just like traumatic experiences from my childhood. I've experienced a lot of death in my life, and it's like I thought honestly before I got into hunting, before I moved out west, you truly feel debilitated by that. You feel like life is attacking you, like you have no way out of that. And then I come out west, I'm in the mountains, I'm outside more. Like I grew up in Texas where 9 months out of the year it's hot as hell. There's nothing to do outside, everything that you do is indoors. And so coming out here, just the ability, the better weather, like it's not nearly as hot, so I can get outside. There's better places to be outside. Not just the physical effect that it has on your mental health, but I think what that does for me personally, and like even going on a hunt or a solo hunt or hunt with friends too, like if you're sitting at camp at night with your friends, the conversations that you have are unlike any conversations that you have in any other setting. But I think it just, and I don't know what it does, but if I'm out by myself, it's the conversations that I have with myself that I'm more able to work through what's going through my mind. I'm not in the regular hustle bustle of the daily life. I'm out there. Everything that is part of my regular life, I'm no longer thinking about that. That's no longer an issue. And I can sort through a lot of things in my mind quite a bit more. And even better if I have someone who's out there with me. Like I said, the conversations that you have at camp are way different than the conversations you're going to have grabbing a drink or having dinner with a buddy of yours.
Or sitting on your phone.
Or sitting on your phone. Like I love so much the ability to just completely lose service. Obviously, we stay on our phones because we like to stay connected to our friends, and I'm sure you're similar. You know people all over the country, and you want to stay connected with those people. And then when you're out, you want to stay connected with your family as well, and that's tough. But God, there's no better feeling than when no one has the ability to reach me. I love that more than anything. But I think it's the getting out there and moving. Like I say the outdoors aspect of it, but movement, right? Like if maybe you live somewhere where you can't get outdoors much, just getting into the gym, moving your body, going for a run, going for a bike ride, going swimming. Yeah.
Or like there's a point where you'll hit it, right? Like I can be dog tired and then go to the gym, and then like 25 minutes in it'll hit, and you're just like, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah, and even just going for a walk, right? Like I work from home since I'm remote, and if I'm like stressed from work or something like that, I will stop everything, go outside, take my dog for like a 30-minute walk, come back in, I'm like, man, God, I feel so much better. But just the power of working out, right? Not even just being outdoors, not even just hunting, but the power of moving your body. I don't know, I'm currently doing my PhD in like long term. What I do want to look at, so I'm looking like stress and stress physiology, but long term I want to look at more the mental side of it, and like what do these, we have these traumatic experiences, we see the stress that it has, the effect that it has on our bodies, the effect that it has on our physical performance and the things that we're doing, but then also it has effect on our mental health. So then we turn back to see what the physical side of things, the nutrition, the sleep, all of this stuff. Now, what is the effect that that's having on the downstream effect that all that stress had on our bodies? And that's something that I'm like super interested in and super passionate about. But at the end of the day, like for the mental health, it's just moving, right? I think so many Americans, and I specify Americans because I don't think it's this big of a problem in any other country. It's not.
I travel a lot.
Yeah.
All over the world, and it's not as big of a problem.
Yep. So Americans specifically, they sit at home, they sit on their phones, they sit at their desk at work. that maybe they're in a town that they don't want to travel. I tell everyone to travel. Like, I'm from a small town in Texas, and the number of people who will like send me a message maybe that I went to high school with or that I grew up with, I'm like, oh my god, you're doing all these cool things. I'm like, I'm just doing life. I'm getting out there, I'm traveling, I'm going different places, I'm meeting different people, I'm trying new things, and you're still in the town that I grew up in. Yeah, you're probably pretty miserable. There's not a lot to do there. But yeah, I don't know. It's such an epidemic, I'll use, in America that we just like to sit at home. And what blows my mind, and I know where I struggle in having my podcast is that I don't really love social media. So like marketing and putting things on social media is not my strong suit. Because we sit there and we see other people's lives through Instagram, through Facebook, through whatever, and we're like envious of it. Like, it blows my mind. And I had this conversation. My mom was visiting not long ago, and the fact that people get paid through TikTok blows my mind, because that means there are other people sitting at home on the couch watching this person live their life through a screen. Is that not fucking wild to you?
It's crazy. It's a weird time to live in. I think the American dream is a double-edged sword.
Correct, yeah.
Right, like, I am a entrepreneur through and through. I have Tricer. I'm sure I will start other companies in my lifetime. It just happens. I cannot help but start companies, design products, do things. I love it. But sometimes you can get so wrapped up in the work side of it that you miss the life side of it. And I think as I've gotten older, I've learned that. Right? Like, I've lost a lot of my time with my kids from work. And now I regret that. Like, I have an 18-year-old kid, he's 18. It's so important to, like, we get caught up in, like, I need to get a bigger motorhome to take my kids out. I'll tell you what, just get a tent and go out camp with your kids, because that's more important than getting the motorhome, right? Or, you know, if only I could get to this level of a house, my kids would have a great time. Kids have to go where they are, take them to the beach or take them outside. We get so wrapped up in that, you know, and same with hunting. Like, oh, I have to do this, and that. I have all this gear. Just go hunting.
Yeah, just get out.
They did it in freaking blue jeans and red flannels forever with Woodstock 30-06s, and you can do it. So it's so important just to, like they used to do, life and prioritize that, right? And what happens is we get so caught up in keeping up with the Joneses and wanting a new car,
the new bow,
the new boat, all this stuff, that you make it to a point where you can't even use it. And it's almost to a point where we're just buying these things because it's the only thing we can do is buy them, we can't use them. And we do it all the time. We'll buy things like rifles, bows, but then we can't even use them because we can't afford it, or we've got too wrapped up in time to do it. And it's like, man, take a step back and just focus on your mental health and getting out and doing things rather than getting the next best thing. Because like the next best thing is right in front of you and you can't get time back. Like, the most important thing you're going to have in your life is time. Like, you can always make more money.
Yeah.
You always make more money.
Yes, correct.
You cannot make more time.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be 37 again.
Yeah.
I'm 38.
Yeah.
And I honestly, like, I took a little time, I feel catch my stride every year. Like, I feel like my life is better every year. Like, I have a phenomenal wife, phenomenal children, great ministries, business. Like, I love it. I love life. I get lots of people to do it. But you can't get time back. And like, man, you will never, I'll tell you what, you go and buy a new car, you're not going to remember that new car.
Oh no.
You go and put a 2-week trip in Alaska, chasing grizzlies or chasing moose, you're going to remember the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It'll be way more important to you than that freaking flat screen TV that you bought or whatever it is that you bought. Man, you can't get time back. Go live it.
I think the best thing I ever did, like when I moved out, I lived in Colorado before COVID. I did my master's degree out there. I went back to Texas for work. So as soon as I started working remote, I sold everything that I owned and just packed up whatever fit in my little RAV4, and I headed to Colorado, and I like just kind of bounce around. I have like a temporary rental right now, and just kind of bounce place to place. Like, the number of things that I own compared to what I used to own is like a quarter of that. And exactly like you said, like, to pay for the experiences, like a lot of times people are like, oh, how do you pay to do these things? How do you make enough money to do these things? Well, I spend my money wisely, first off. Like, I spend my money on doing the things that I want to do, and I don't buy a bunch of stuff that I don't need. I don't buy like the next big screen TV, all those kinds of things. I spend money, hunting is what I like to do. So I spend money on going on, whether it's tags or like how to get to that place, whether it's coming to a tag like this, and shooting with friends. Like those are the things that I want to do. So that's what my money is going towards, and I'm not spending it on things that I don't really need to be spending it on. And I think that's like, consumerism is so big here, once again, in America, and really not anywhere else. Like you said, we want the next best thing. But really, how happy is that making you, right? I know people...
It's such a short time.
It is.
Like that new car smell lasts a month, and then the next month you get that bill, and you're like,
was it
oh my gosh, this car pays $1,200.
Yeah? Oh,
and you got to pay it every month for the next 60 months. And like, I'm not a poor person. I make money. It's what I do. I build businesses. I do these things. My hunting truck is a 2007 F-150. Beats snot. My cars are paid off. I don't have a lot of debt because that way it enables me to go do cool things.
Yep, I'm the same.
I have like, if you ever see my hunting truck, I'll cry when it goes out. It is the worst looking thing you've ever seen in my life. It is beat. It's been to hell back 15 times. It's always got me home. But I choose to do that rather than go buy a brand new F-250 or Denali, lift it and do all this stuff. I'd rather go buy tags and go hunting.
Exactly.
And that's what I do.
It's so funny. I think I've heard it multiple times too, like millionaire, well, maybe not millionaires, but like people I think sit in that like anywhere from 100,000 to like 300,000 range usually have really shitty cars, right? And it's really common because, like you said, they are the ones, like, yes, people can say money buys happiness, like, but I think it's to a degree, right? And that's why I say I think over that, like, and 300 is, maybe some people will never see that much money in their life, but people who are millionaires are spending money on all of these tangible things to have the biggest house, to have the best car, to have the best TV, and they're not happy people, right? I think people, or somewhere where you're in that happy medium, you know, like you have a car from 2007, the truck from 2007, and you're spending money on the things you want to do, like those are the people who have it figured out. And I had a conversation with someone recently too. You had kind of mentioned, like, you'll never get time back, you can always make more money. We talked about the concept of like having a bucket list and a bucket list hunt. And I'm like, you know, for me, when people ask me that question, if there's a hunt I want to do, I'm going to find a way to do it within the next year or two. Whether that's finding out how to get time off. If I have to quit my job because I need a month off to go do this hunt and I have to find a new job, I'm the type of person that's what I'm going to do, right? And like you said, money can always be made. I can always find another job. Like, I think the concept of, and whether a bucket list period, it doesn't have to be a hunt. Maybe there's a bucket list trip. Maybe there's somewhere you want to go. Do it. Just go and do it. Like my motto is like, do the damn thing. If something crosses your mind once and then it crosses your mind again and you still haven't done it or thought about how you're going to figure out how to do it, you're wasting time. You're going to continue to think about doing that one thing until you actually do it for years, right? Like, there are people who have had hunts. I've talked to people who are like, oh yeah, my dream hunt is going to Alaska and hunting caribou. And I'm like, you've been hunting all of your life and you've never gone to Alaska to hunt caribou. Why? I'm going to figure out how to do it ASAP. Like, why would you do, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think if you can switch to that mindset too, like if you constantly sit there and think about something, if you don't act on it, you're missing out in life. That's my thoughts.
I'm saving money. I'm going to move to Alaska for a month next year.
Yes.
I'm going to float trip moose.
Gosh, that'd
be so awesome. And then I'm going to hunt blacktail and black bear. Nice. And then I think I'm going to move to Hawaii for a month as well. Bow hunt.
Oh, nice.
Bow hunt for a month. With the kids, the family, go do it.
For sure, yeah.
And then Alaska, they're going to be there. I'll be out by myself or with somebody. Like, I'll bring a friend and we'll go film crew or something. We'll do that stuff.
Nice.
We'll go do the trips. But I'll never get it back. And I'm like, my dream hunt is to hunt moose. And
you're going to do it.
I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to hunt moose.
Nice.
That's my goal. So I just got to figure it out. But that's my goal right now.
That'll be so much fun.
It's going to be an awesome time. That's a rad pod. We said we end with a hunting story. You seem like you're pretty addicted. You got a hunting story you want to tell?
Ooh, geez.
Doesn't have to be one you killed. It can just be a hunting story. It can be your smallest animal, your biggest animal.
Okay. I'll talk about the first buck that I harvested. First animal I ever harvested, a nice 10-point buck down in South Texas, and that is the biggest animal I've harvested to date. I always joke that like I'll never top it. But it was such a meaningful experience for me, for the time of life that I was going through at the time that it happened. The guy, I had met an older gentleman at the bow shop that I was going to at the time, and I say to this day he became like a second grandpa to me. One of my grandpas I never met, and then the other one passed when I was really young. He was the one that I said was a hunter, and he had passed when I was younger. Anyways, this guy liked working with kids and teaching kids how to hunt. And he actually, every year on Youth Weekend in Texas, he would do a hunt with kids who had autism. And we had got to chatting and told him how I wanted to get into hunting finally after I had been shooting my bow for about a year. And he's like, I'd love to have you out. He was like, just come out, like, if I don't ever have anyone. And he wouldn't ever let me pay him a dime. I would try to like hide money under his tire or something like that, and he would somehow find a way to get it back to me. And I'm like, dude, just take my money. Like, I appreciate you for letting me come out here, and it was so much fun. But we had it was the biggest buck that we had been seeing kind of all that season, and we'd either be too early or too late to the blind just to be able to get a shot on him. And I wanted to get him with a bow. It ended up being with a rifle, but we were headed to the blind early afternoon to kind of sit the rest of that evening, and he had jumped. There's a low fence property down in South Texas, and he had kind of jumped the fence an hour earlier than we were expecting him to. And we're in the truck. He had a rifle in the bed of his truck, and the buck's at about like 120 yards. I'm like, I'm not going to go taking an archery shot that far. And he's like, this might be your only opportunity on this buck. Like, and the longer we get, or the deeper we get into the season, the less frequently I'm seeing him around here. And I'm like, God, that's the buck that like we've had eyes on, and man, that would be super nice. I'm not comfortable with that. He's like, I got a rifle in the back of the truck. How good are you with a rifle? And I hadn't shot a rifle in quite a while at this point. Like, I grew up shooting them every now and then, but at that point in time, I had not shot one in quite a while. And I was like, should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? Because once again, I also want to make an ethical shot, right? So I was like, man, what are the odds that like I go for it and it's terrible? And so he kind of sat there and he looks at me and he's like, if you don't want to get that one, there's going to be another smaller one that walks in. So your likelihood that you get something today is probably going to happen, because just how movement had been leading up to that day. But he was like, what the fuck you want? I was like, girl, let's fucking do it. So we get out of the truck. We're obviously having to make a little movement, 120, 130 yards away. We're like right on the fence line. I set this rifle up like on top of the fence and took like perfect shot. He dropped right in his tracks. And then he looks over at me, and obviously I'm crying because he looks over at me. He's like, your dad would be so proud of you. And I'm like, oh. Like, that's not what I wanted to hear, but that's what I wanted to hear. I think it was so cool. And I ended up like stayed a couple more days. I got a doe that same weekend. But just that man taught me so much about whitetail hunting in Texas specifically. I know it's different depending on what state you're in and hunting from a blind or a tree stand or whatever you're doing, but like the fact that he was even willing to let me like use his gun and shoot at that deer, not my weapon. Like, I even was honest. I was like, I don't know the last time I shot a rifle. Like, I don't know how this is gonna go. And he was like, I have faith in you. Like, you're a go-getter. Like, you've shot rifles before. I know that you're gonna make a good shot. I know that you want this. I know how you talk about hunting and wanting to be successful with it. I know you're gonna make a good shot. And of course, like, a perfect shot. Dropped right in his tracks. And I think that is something that, obviously, yes, you remember your first animal forever, but I think the experience around it and just that guy was super amazing. And I even went back to hunt with him this past season. He called me his little huntress after that. So when I first moved to Colorado, I told him I had drawn that bear tag, and he was like, oh, I can't wait to see my little huntress like tag out on a bear, and I hope you get your elk too, and all this stuff. And then late October, I was gonna go back out and hunt with him again, and I think he ended up passing away. Like, he had told me, so earlier in the year he had told me he was really sick. It's kind of a sad story now, but told me he was really sick. I was kind of driving around the country, and I was on a long road trip, and he said to me, I can't wait. He was like, I'm not gonna do any kind of medicine, anything. He didn't tell me what it was, but his wife had died a year prior. And so that was kind of something we really connected on, because he would ask me, like, how did your mom get through this? Like, this is the toughest thing I've ever done. Like, what? I don't know if I can get through this. So once he found out he was sick, he was like, I can't wait to meet my wife again. And he was like, I'm going to live my best life. I don't know how much longer I have on this earth. I'm going to go down to Mexico. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this while I'm here. And I was like, hell yeah, like get after it. Like you don't know how long you have left on this earth. I hope that you do everything that you want to do. And he had called me like the day before I was going to drive down there, just figuring out like a game plan and everything. And then as I'm driving down there, calling him, and he's not answering. And then still to this day, I've not heard back from him. He never answers a call. So I can only think that that's just what happened. But the last thing that he told me was like, I can't, because he knew he was getting really sick. It's like, I can't wait to tell your dad like what amazing things that you're doing down here.
That's awesome.
And I was like, God, I'll forever remember that person and that experience for the rest of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a good podcast. Whitney, where can we find you?
Yeah, I am on Instagram, Whitney Tramel, Tramel. I think there's an underscore after it. And then I also have a podcast, the Wild Strength Podcast, kind of everything that we talked about here. All things wild, all things strength, and everything in between is the tagline for that. I have people on there that are hunting and outdoors related. I have people on there that are strength and conditioning coaches, training, fitness related, and everything in between. I've had a couple people on there that relate to none of those. So it's been really fun. I've been doing that for about at least a year now, maybe just under a year. So Wild Strength Podcast is on Instagram, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on YouTube. And yeah, that's been really fun too.
Awesome. Let's do it again.
Yeah, sounds good. Sweet. That was great. I hate when do you ever have people on that are like really bad at talking?